What's up, my fellow nerds? I want to show you how I took this pre-painted miniature and turned it into this with just a few easy steps. The pre-painted miniature looks very basic, which is actually exactly how my miniatures look right before I use washes and do any detail work. Having the main areas pre-painted saves a ton of time and allows us to get right into the fun parts. However, there are some areas where the color is kind of faded, especially the skin, so I touch up those areas before I get into any details. It being very basic also means that there's no highlighting done, so I use a dry brush technique here to add some highlights to the most raised areas. As I was painting, I also noticed there were some mold lines left on the hand here especially, and then a little bit under the left arm. So I go in with an X-Acto knife, scrape that off, and then repaint over with the skin tone. So here's the wash stage. It adds a lot of definition and depth to the miniature. I like to focus on the cracks between colors to make them pop. Honestly, you could just do this one step. You could just have a pre-painted miniature and just do this one thing and it would make it look amazing. I'm just really picky and I do a lot of other detail work, so feel free to ignore all of the other steps. This is the main thing that you want to do. Here I switched to a strong tone wash, which has more of a brownish tinge to it instead of just a straight black. I like to use more of a brownish tinge wash when I'm doing horns or a lot of stuff that's natural, like bark. For instance, the little tree man. So the miniature before this stage looks awesome and basically finished besides the base, but I figured with such a giant magical fireball coming out of her hand that some object source lighting would look nice. Be sure to have a very diluted paint while doing this and just put very little amounts of a time on the model, because if you do too much, then it's really hard to go back. You have to repaint everything and rewash it. So, little bit at a time until you get the desired effect. So here I put little tufts of bushes to make the foliage on this little tree man look more realistic. I used Woodland Scenics bushes medium green to do this. So now for the bases. I did this in the wrong order and I had to go back and fix it. But ideally, I start with Folk Art Real Brown, and then I use a Woodland Scenics Blended Turf Earth Blend for the flocking. So I thought the eye still looked a little bit boring. Again, I'm very picky. I like to add a glowing blue eye to dryads or like tree people, so this thing works perfectly for that. The way I cause this effect is I put a little white dot in the center of each eye, and that's just to give a really bright base for when I do a light blue on top of it. It really makes it look like that's where the light is coming from. And then around the eye socket, just very lightly watered down blue to create that glowing effect. And after that, I am completely done modifying this pre-painted miniature. And here's some before and after shots so you can kind of see everything we went through. Again, I did a lot of different detail work here. You don't have to do nearly as much. It's still going to look great with just a wash. But I highly recommend trying this out. It's a lot of fun not having to do all of the base colors, which can get really monotonous. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.